What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the full 90. It is finally time for the Week 3 Premier League predictions. Now, I have to say, we did really well in the last week's predictions, and that was before even the first game weeks had happened that I predicted the game week 2 fixtures. So we absolutely nailed it. I actually just got back from Texas today. I haven't slept in over 24 hours properly, and I'm trying to stay awake. So I thought I'd record this video for game week number 3. So please do drop a like, leave your predictions down in the comments below, because hopefully going forward, I'll be able to include your predictions. But then again, in a week and a half, I'm jetting off to Tenerife for a couple of weeks. So we're very busy, but I'm going to try and not miss any videos. Maybe I'll record whilst I'm out there for you. But nevertheless, drop a like, leave your predictions in the comments below, and subscribe, as we're trying to reach 25,000 subscribers this year, the World Cup year. Like I said, last week we had a very good one. We had Aston Villa beating Everton 2-1, Chelsea and Tottenham drawing 2-2, and Brighton and Newcastle drawing, Arsenal winning and both teams to score and draw in Southampton Leeds. The only ones we had a bit of a wobble on was the Forest West Ham game and the Brentford Man United game. Like, what can you actually predict there? And then, of course, Liverpool dropping points against Palace. Also, doing very well in Fantasy Premier League. I think I'm in like the top 5,000 in the world, something like that at the moment. It's my first season doing it, so that's pretty cool. But nevertheless, week 3 predictions, let's go. So first up, we do have Tottenham up against Wolves. I think Tottenham are going to have a very good season. I think it was unfortunate for Chelsea that they couldn't get the 3 points against Tottenham, but me personally, it helped my prediction. I think Wolves are struggling a little bit to really hit the ground running. You know, you'd expect them to get a win against Fulham at home, and then they lost to Leeds, which was pretty unexpected as well. So Wolves will want to get something here if they can, but I just don't think they will. I think in another year, when Spurs maybe aren't clicking as much offensively as this, maybe they could grab something like a 1-1 draw, but I just don't see it. And once Tottenham get that first goal, Wolves can't sort of sit back really and try and hold on to what they don't have. So I'm going to go for a fairly convincing Tottenham win. I'm going to go for a 3-0. My tip is over 2.5 goals at 1.72, mostly because the Tottenham win value is terrible. It's like 1.36, but also Wolves could contribute and get a goal, and then maybe we see a 2-1 or maybe even a 2-1 win to Wolves. You never know. So I'm going to go for goals in that tip. After that, we travel to Selhurst Park for Crystal Palace up against Aston Villa. Villa getting a win against Everton, but I don't know how that really puts them in terms of potentially beating Villa, because Everton really aren't that great. Sorry, beating Palace, I should say. Whereas Crystal Palace, on the other hand, looked threatening against Arsenal, even though they couldn't score a goal, and threatening against Liverpool on the break, but they were outplayed. I'm actually going to go for a Crystal Palace win. They've had 2 very tough opening fixtures, and whilst they did lose the first one and drew the second one, which was a good result for them, let's not forget, but it was against 10 men when they conceded the goal. I'm going to go for Palace to get their first win of the season. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Crystal Palace, but in case it's a draw or something like that, or Aston Villa win again, my tip is going to be both teams to score at 1.8. After that, we travel to Goodison Park for Everton up against Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest, the only team of the 3 promoted teams that I tipped to not get relegated. And who knows? Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't. They did get a great win against West Ham in the last game week. And Everton obviously have lost both their first games. Not easy fixtures, but lost nonetheless. I'm going to go for an Everton win. I think all the momentum, to be honest, is with Forest. But I'm just going to get one of those random Everton wins. You remember, I think it was last December or the December before that, Everton were really struggling and Arsenal were doing, I think, quite well. And Everton just beat Arsenal 1-0 at Goodison Park. That could randomly happen. And if it is going to happen for Everton, it will be at home. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to Everton against Nottingham Forest. My tip is under 2.5 goals at 1.8. I don't often tip those sort of things. But Nottingham Forest, both of their 2 games have featured under 2.5 goals. And Everton have, their games have averaged 2 this season in the first 2 games. So I think it could be low scoring, could be 1-1, 0-0, something like that. Nottingham Forest could win 1 or 2-0. You never know. So I'm going to go for unders. Watch it be like 6-0 now. But that's going to be my prediction there. After that, it's Fulham up against Brentford. I think this is going to be very, very entertaining. I think at Brentford's home stadium, I'd give them the win. But Fulham, Craven Cottage, going to be rocking. I'm going to go for a repeat scoreline of the opening day fixture against Liverpool. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. And my tip is both teams to score at 1.7. How do you say that Brentford don't score after putting 4 past Man United in the first half? And Fulham at home, they've only played there once and they scored twice against Liverpool. So I think they can definitely do it against Brentford here. So I'm going to go for a high-scoring, entertaining fixture there. After that, it's Leicester up against Southampton. Leicester deservedly losing to Arsenal and getting a draw. I say getting a draw against Brentford, handing a draw to Brentford on the first day. I think they were 2-0 up there. I think they are going to win this game. I don't think there's too many like crazy concerns for Leicester. I don't think they're going to finish like 15th or anything like that. I still think they'll be in the top half of the Premier League come May or the end of the season. So I'm going to go for a home win. Leicester to win against Southampton 2-1. My first tip in the result market, it's going to be Leicester to win at 1.8. I think Southampton, I said at the beginning of the season, are really, really going to struggle. And yeah, I mean, they did well to react to the Leeds game last week to get that draw. But other than that, there's not so much I can say in terms of, Southampton and what I expect them to do this season. They got absolutely trounced by Tottenham, and I think they're going to struggle here at the King Power Stadium as well. After that, it's Leeds up against Chelsea. Leeds having a very good start to the season. Chelsea as well, a very good start to the season. Koulibaly's looking like he's being brought into the team very, very well. He seems to be coping. Obviously, he's going to be because he's a fantastic defender and a fantastic player. I've just realised I missed the Bournemouth Arsenal game, so I'll come back to that. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Chelsea. I think Chelsea are better enough than Leeds to get the win, regardless of whether it's home or away. But Leeds obviously are looking good this season. They're looking sharp, so I think they're going to score. So I'll go 2-1 to Chelsea. My tip is Chelsea to win and both teams to score at 3.2. These two games, the Chelsea and the Arsenal game, have gone for a bit of a higher value tip because last week I did it with the draw at 3.5 and Arsenal to win and both teams to score at 3.2, and they both came in. So why not try and do it again? We'll go back now to the Vitality Stadium. I believe it's still called that, for Bournemouth up against Arsenal. Tricky place to go, as Aston Villa found out on the first day, but there is nothing that can stop this Arsenal momentum. Certainly not from this Bournemouth team anyway. I'm not saying it's going to be 6-0 or anything crazy like that, but I think Arsenal are going to get the job done. I think it's going to be lower scoring, much more like the first game week. Maybe get a goal or two ahead and just see out the win. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Arsenal. However, my tip is going to be draw halftime, Arsenal full-time at 4.33. I think Bournemouth will keep it competitive. Perhaps it would end 1-1 at halftime, and then Arsenal have a good resurgent performance in the second half to secure the 3 points. A couple years ago, Arsenal were notorious for drawing at halftime and winning at full time. So I could definitely see that happening. And obviously, as an Arsenal fan, let's say Arsenal win, if we're assuming that. Either this tip comes in or Arsenal get off to a flyer and they just play well. And I like that. But I do think Arsenal are going to be good enough to beat Bournemouth. So I'm just trying to spice it up with the value in the tip there. After that, it's West Ham up against Brighton. Brighton, they drew against Newcastle, I believe, but they were the better team. And I think on another day, they could have won that one. And West Ham losing out to Nottingham Forest. I think at the Amex Stadium, I'd give this one to Brighton. But West Ham and Brighton, if you look at the recent fixtures as well, they draw a lot. I predicted this to be a 1-1 draw, so that's what I'm going to stick with. I then went back and looked at the recent scores, and 5 of the last 6 meetings between the two have been score draws. So I'm going to go for that again. My tip is both teams to score at 1.75. After that, we travel to St. James's Park for Newcastle up against Manchester City. Perhaps I'd give Newcastle a bit more of a chance in this fixture, if not for their performance against Brighton, and Manchester City looked like the real deal. I know it's only Bournemouth that they scored 4 against, but they looked unbelievable. They looked phenomenally good, and they did the job against West Ham 2-0. I'm going to go for a fairly convincing 3-0 win to Manchester City. And my tip, he's owed a goal now. I said he was going to score in the first game week. I don't know if I mentioned him scoring in the second game week, but he's going to score. My tip is Haaland to score at 1.72. He's on penalties, and he's just unreal. He might not touch the ball a lot, right? He doesn't need to. He'll get on the end of it. Just one cross from De Bruyne or something like that. He'll get on the end of it, or a through ball. If Newcastle play well and try to actually break out of their own half, that room in behind the defenders might be a little bit more for Haaland to run into, and I could see him scoring. So I'm going to go for City to win and Haaland to score. And the final game, Manchester United up against Liverpool. Now, this is a weird one, right? Because you look at the recent form of Liverpool, you look at the recent form of Manchester United, and you could say 10-0 to Liverpool, right? I might even put that something crazy like that in the thumbnail, right? However, we've seen this before. Manchester United struggle against the teams in the mid-table and the lower half of the table. They struggle against the team in the top half as well, don't get me wrong. But when they're struggling against these mid to lower table teams like Brentford and Brighton, I know are climbing up lately, but once they do, it's then all eyes on them, and they have a big fixture, whether that's against Manchester City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, and they play well. They play randomly well with the same group of players that played terribly in the recent fixtures beforehand. Like when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was looking like he was going to get the sack. They then pull something out the bag. Now, obviously, that's still going to be an L against Liverpool. But with the combination of Nunes being out suspended for that headbutt, which was just petulant, it was just silly, and the need to do something any way better than a 4-0 loss to Brentford. I think Man United are going to keep this close. However, I don't think they're going to win. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Liverpool. My tip simply is Liverpool to win at 1.57. The value's not great, but it should happen, and it could be 4 or 5-0. But without Nunes, and like I said, Man United tend to step up randomly with the same group of players when they need it most against teams you wouldn't expect it. So I could see them actually putting up a decent fight, because if you're not going to get up for a game against Liverpool at Old Trafford, they might as well go to the Championship. So I'm going to go for a close game, but ultimately Liverpool to win. And that is going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy it, please do drop a like, subscribe, as I said, leave your predictions down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video very soon.